welcome to our show Health and Wellness, Myths versus Facts. The definition of health goes way beyond the absence of disease. The pandemic has put mental as well as physical health and wellness into sharp focus. Awareness of health issues is important for visibility in community, and the absence, inaccessibility or inaccuracy of information about chronic illness causes a lack of knowledge, which is worsened by myths and fears as well as increased social media trust. Now, heart disease is the leading cause of death and a major cause of disability in all over the world. Relatively younger adults are getting diagnosed with heart disease. It's easier to manage the disease if you're aware of the problem signals, the warning signals and problems associated with these conditions. There have been several advancements in the technological care of heart diseases. Expert advice will help viewers get the correct information to act accordingly. Well, let's now go across to our panel of doctors. We're joined by Dr. Smit Srivastav, interventional cardiologist, Cardiology Clinic, Raipur, and Dr. Hiralal Pawar, cardiologist, Hridayaksha Heart Center in Nashik. Thank you so much, doctors, for joining us on the program. And Dr. Srivastav, first to you, what is atherosclerosis? What is the role of LDL and HDL cholesterol in a coronary artery? Can it be prevented?
Yeah, even atherosclerosis is like Greek and for doctors also to understand, but I'll break this word into two. So it has athero and sclerosis. Athero means something like porridge or a cheesy material, and sclerosis is hardening of the vessels. So a combination of this happens whenever we have too excess fat, and that get deposited in the vessels, and it results in choking of that vessels or hardening of the vessels. This is in toto called as atherosclerosis. So this is the basic mechanism by which we get either brain strokes or heart strokes. And how this mechanism acts or works is through the good and the bad cholesterol. So the good cholesterol is HDL and the bad cholesterol is LDL. So the job of bad cholesterol is to absorb fat from intestine, from the gut, and take it to the heart and other vessels and deposit it there to act as a store. Whereas HDL, the good cholesterol, it works just the reverse, that it takes out the fat which is deposited in these stores in the vessel walls, takes it out, tries to lower down the choking and cure atherosclerosis. Whatever balance between the HDL and LDL remains or acts, that is how we develop either our arteries would be choked, they will be blocked, or they will be open.
All right, doctor. So that's important for people to know, all these factors. If you could tell us which age groups have the highest prevalence of coronary artery atherosclerosis, and can younger people get coronary artery disease?
That's a very important question, and this of late we have observed that younger people are getting heart attacks and they're dying of heart attacks. So there is basic difference between the Western population and Indian subcontinent population is that we get heart attacks and even brain attacks are at a younger age, and that is probably because of our genetic predispositions, or it is because of the lifestyles that we are leading. Sometimes it is, in West, the good part is that the tobacco use, smoking, everything is coming down. And for last around 25 to 30 years, West is seeing a decline in heart attacks and death because of heart diseases. But all these things now are on a rise in Indian subcontinent, in Indian population. And almost it's a decade earlier that we get patients who develop a heart attack or a brain attack. It's almost 10 years earlier than the Western counterparts.
Right. And doctor, if you could also tell us about coronary angiography in the diagnosis and treatment of atherosclerosis, and when is it needed to perform this test? How do we know that we're in need of this test?
Yeah. Before angiography, one has to understand that there are few other tests which are non-invasive. Basically, angiography is an invasive test where you need to either get admitted. So there are two ways to do angiography. One is that we do something like taking an X-ray of your chest or a CT scan of your chest, that is called a CT angiography. And the other is catheter or conventional angiography, where patient has to be admitted in the hospital. We pass a pipe kind of a thing called catheter from the either wrist vessel or a thigh vessel and then engage the heart vessels, put in a dye and take a photograph to see the blockages in these arteries. So there are other modalities like treadmill test or ECG which can give us an idea that these patients are require angiography. But angiography is definitely required in those patients where we are highly suspicious of a heart disease, who have parents or first degree relatives like brothers and cousins or sisters who had sustained a heart attack, or who have been diabetic for more than 5 to 10 years and now developing chest pain, or having kidney disease or high blood pressure, have been a smoker. So all these patients, coronary angiography is indicated whenever we suspect that they have symptoms of heart disease, and then they should get it done very early, because this is one test which can give you a chance that you can treat the disease, or even tell you that you don't have the disease and you can live well for long.
All right, so something that could help, in prevention or managing of the disease. Now, Dr. Hiralal Pawar, what is the role of lab testing in the monitoring of coronary artery atherosclerosis, and which lipid studies are performed to diagnose if a person can get a heart attack?
Then in coronary artery disease diagnosis, there are a lot of lab testings are important, particularly lipid profile. We have to do LDL, HDL, triglyceride lipid profile. Then we have to do BSL, sugars, fasting, postprandial, and in acute emergencies, troponin levels and CPK, MB enzyme levels are also important to diagnose the coronary artery disease.
All right, doctor, and also many features of the environment have been found to exert an influence on cardiovascular disease risk, progression and severity. What are these environmental factors which affect the prevalence of coronary artery atherosclerosis?
Yes, good question. There are many environmental factors which affects the coronary artery disease prevalence, particularly air pollution. There are some infections. Recently, you all know COVID-19 infections. It is causing a lot of thrombotic events in younger patients, and younger patients presenting with acute myocardial infarctions. Then there are also other risk factors. There is genetic risk factors, then diabetes, then hypertension, smoking. These are all also important risk factors.
All right, Dr. Srivastav, if you could tell us, which treatment advances have led to a reduction in mortality from heart attack? This is something that's, important for people to know about.
Yeah, before treatment, I'll again go back to the fact that the lifestyle modifications probably work the best. So, I am a cardiologist, but I consider a doctor who prevents development of a heart disease better doctor than I am, because I treat complications or I treat advanced diseases. So, giving up smoking, giving up tobacco in any form, controlling your blood sugars, blood pressures well, keeping fit, watching your weight, watching your diet, all these are basically they seem simple, but they are ones which reap the maximum benefits. The advancements that we have seen in cardiology, which has helped patient live longer, that is advent of bypass surgery and then subsequently coronary stents and angioplasties, which have made life very easy even for the patients who undergo these procedures, because bypass it needs it's a major operation, it needs admission, it needs post operative follow-ups, whereas angioplasty has made that very easy. And more on top of it, we have now very good medicines, like we have very good blood thinners, we have anti-cholesterol drugs, we have very good diabetic drugs which actually are working even wonders for cardiac problems. In fact, to the tune that people do not take it now as a anti-diabetic drugs, but they are taking it as a heart medicine. So there are advances which have occurred, and I'm happy, and that is why we see that the longevity in India also has almost risen from somewhere around 40 years in 1940s to almost 75 years in presently.
All right, and speaking about drugs, let's talk about aspirin. And since decades, aspirin has been used to prevent and manage heart disease and stroke. So if you could tell us the role of aspirin in treatment of clotting in blood vessels, and what is the latest information about the use of aspirin?
Then role of aspirin is a good question. Aspirin in decades we are known drug, and it is a very useful drug. It prevent mortality in acute myocardial infarction by 22%. Even it is useful drug for cerebrovascular accidents and many more cases.
All right, so fascinating, because as you said, for decades, we've heard about aspirin being used, and now suddenly this new information and, science, new studies evolves as well, and now new medicines are being recommended rather than aspirin. Doctor, we'll slip into a short break and come back with more questions for you. Welcome back. You're watching Health and Wellness, and we're talking about heart health, managing our health at home and managing any cardio diseases. Also, how it's important to be informed about, the correct measures, the correct preventive measures that you can take as well. Well, let's go across to our doctors. And Dr. Srivastav, who is the right candidate for an angioplasty and who needs a bypass surgery? Could a bypass surgery be a better option?
Traditionally, bypass surgery, because it had come 2 decades earlier than angioplasty and stenting. So the data available, the number of studies available for bypass and their indications is definitely more than angioplasty. But with passing time, angioplasty and stenting, they have taken over or are about to take over bypass in almost every indication that bypass was previously indicated. Still, I'll say that the indications for clear-cut bypass remains where a patient has all the 3 heart vessels which are choked, or he has a very poor heart pumping functions, or he is diabetic. Because in these subsets, the stents may not work very well, but it is not that it is not being done. And ultimately, it remains a patient's choice and his family physician's understanding, because he we cardiologists or cardiac surgeons, we have a more tubular vision looking at the heart, and the family physician, he knows the patient in toto better than what we do. And so this decision has to be based in consultation with the family physician, with the family members, with patient's wishes, with the cardiologist and the cardiac surgeon, what is called as the heart team. And then patient's wish actually becomes the prime indication what he wants to get done.
So, doctor, if you could tell us, what are the signs and symptoms that a patient should be aware of post-angioplasty, and what should one do in case of an emergency?
In post-angioplasty or post-bypass surgeries, if patient complaining of shortness of breath, then angina on exertion, chest heaviness, shoulder pain, throat pain. So these are the important sign and symptom patient should know, and he should immediately report to his doctor.
All right. So, continuing in our discussion about post-intervention care, what is the role of cardiac rehabilitation post-angioplasty or bypass surgery? Do a home cardiac cardiac rehabilitation a possibility?
Post-angioplasty or cardiac rehabilitation is a good important aspect, as these patients they had a cardiac injury. Sometimes their heart pumping, that ejection fraction is quite low. So sometimes we just recommend walking, brisk walking. That is the only exercise. If patient want to do a more exercise, then that should be guided with some cardiac rehabilitation experts.
Right. And doctor, earlier you were talking about how, younger people are also getting affected by heart disease. If you could explain that to us, is it just that, we're hearing more about it now because our focus is on it, because perhaps some well-known people, in the more younger bracket have died of heart attack recently, that we feel it's happening more? What are the reasons for this?
Yeah, I'll go a little bit more scientific, and actually the atherosclerosis, what we discussed in the very first minutes of this program, it starts while the baby is in the womb of mother. So there what we call scientifically as fatty streaks, they develop in the larger vessels, and these are fed with fat and other things which make that atheroma or atherosclerosis grow over the next 50, 40 years or 50, 60 years. And then those arteries start choking. So catching them young or catching the disease, catching them young is not something which is unscientific or unknown. But only thing is that our lifestyle, our food habits, the adulteration in food, tobacco, any use of tobacco, whether smoking or consuming tobacco directly, they all accelerate this process. And that is why, or steroid use in gym going people who are now sculpturing their bodies, but they are actually, that sculpturing their bodies is damaging their vessels. They are choking their vessels, and that is why we are seeing these young deaths more. It is not that anything is over-reported or previously it was not diagnosed and now it is being more diagnosed.
Okay,
Yes, we are catching
again, it
these
comes
patients
back to
young.
the point you were making earlier about screening and preempting this by going for checkups. And if you could explain to us, doctor, are both heart failure and heart attack the same thing, or are they different, and which is more serious?
They're actually they're totally two different things. Heart failure is the final outcome or final end stage of any heart disease. So it can be because of a wall disease, it can be because of a heart attack, it can be because of any arrhythmia, any heartbeat ailment, it can be because of a congenital heart disease, which is by a birth defect in the heart. So ultimately, when it damages the heart fails, and the prime purpose of heart are two. One is to receive blood and other is to give blood. So whenever it fails in these two functions, we call it as heart failure. And probably the best definition I had heard is Hriday. Hriday has two words, Hri and Day. Hri means to receive and Day means to give. So that primarily defines whenever heart fails to do these two functions, to receive and to give blood or metabolites, then it is heart failure. And heart attack is a subset, a different disease where we have, because of the choking of the vessels which supply to the heart, it results in total non-supply to one area, and that area gets damaged or it gets dead or it is less supplied, and therefore it does not function as it is supposed to be. That is called as heart attack. Both ailments are serious. Heart failure develops over a time, whereas heart attacks usually develop within minutes, within hours. Their treatments are different. For heart failure, we have drugs which can, clot buster drugs which can dissolve that clot, restore the supply and recover the heart. Same way we have drugs for heart failure which can strengthen the heart, try to bring it back to the normal functions, or even we have devices which can be put into the heart. There are three pacemakers with 3 cords which can synchronize the contraction of the heart, make it healthier and reduce some heart failure.
All right. Well, doctor, thank you so much, for answering all our questions and taking us through all that. So it's important to be, armed with this correct information. And as you said, preempting it is more important, and following a very healthy lifestyle is, I think, the key to good health. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you all for watching at home.